everybody, I'm your host, Becky Cordero, and this is StateSurge Weekly, the video cast that keeps you up to date on the most talked about legislators and legislation in all 50 states. With midterm elections headed our way in November, StateSurge.com users seem to focus their attention this week on legislators rather than legislation. So this week, the week of April 5th, 2010, we have only legislators in our top 5 list, and here they are. The most visited legislator list last week was Arizona State Senator Jim Waring. Waring is a Republican from Arizona's 7th District and has sponsored 46 bills this session. However, Waring's sponsored bills are not why he was an item of interest this week. In January this year, Waring resigned his state Senate seat and declared his intention to run for the U.S. House of Representatives in Arizona's 3rd Congressional District, held previously by John Shadegg. Waring seems to be leading in the early polls by a wide margin, but a recent press release from his opponent, Vernon Parker, states that Waring's lead may have diminished to only a 1 to 2% lead over his closest opponents. This will certainly be an interesting race to watch as we approach the election. On a lighter note, Waring and his wife Kitty had twin boys on Tuesday. The boys' names are Patrick and James. Moving on to the Midwest, Missouri State Representative Linda Fischer, a Democrat from the 107th District, was making headlines this week because of her most recent political opponent, Republican hopeful John Fischer, Linda's husband. This is just the sort of story that you can't help but follow. Representative Fischer filed for a protection order against John Fischer last week, and 3 days later, he filed as a Republican candidate for his wife's state house seat. John Fischer became her only challenger in the November election a day before the filing deadline passed. Utah State Representative Melvin Brown was a popular destination on StateSurge.com this week. Brown, a Republican from Utah's 53rd District, has sponsored 7 bills this session and is fighting for his state's right to opt out of national health care reform if that system becomes too onerous. Representative Brown was quoted saying, "If it becomes so onerous that it looks like we could operate a more efficient system in our state, then I think we should take a look at opting out." Brown is also facing a hotly contested race in his district from Republican John Helander. Back to Arizona for the 4th most visited legislator this week, Nancy Young Wright from Arizona's 26th District. Wright, a Democrat, has sponsored 109 pieces of legislation this session and was publicly against HCR 2008, which was recently passed in the House and is headed to Arizona State Senate. HCR 2008 is seeking to protect the rights of hunters and fishermen by making hunting and fishing constitutional rights. Wright was quoted saying, "The wildlife belongs to all Arizona citizens, both hunters and non-hunters, anglers and non-anglers, those who watch wildlife, and those who don't." And finally, the 5th most active legislator on StateSurge.com this week was Tennessee State Senator Tim Barnes. Barnes, a Democrat from the 22nd District, is the sponsor of SB 2988, which recently passed and will ban all registered sex offenders from after-school events, such as plays or sporting events. This ban will include parents if they are listed as sexual offenders. Barnes was quoted in a news release saying, "Registered sex offenders have no business going to after-school events, and they shouldn't be anywhere near a school without a principal's knowledge. I am proud to have closed a loophole that placed our children at risk." And now for the best part of the show, your comments. Each week we pick out a few comments that catch our eye on StateSurge.com. The first of which this week is from StateSurge user Barry. Barry commented on Tennessee's SJR 0763, which proposes an amendment to clarify the constitutional language that currently prohibits the levying of a tax on any class of income, saying, "Way to go, Tennessee! Very smart move to set that in stone." Another comment from Tennessee came from StateSurge user David. Just David. You guys are sure creative when it comes to your usernames. David commented on HB 3590, which would allow any local education agency to convert to a special school district, saying, "As a county commissioner, I am in full support of this bill. Local school boards are elected officials just like county commissioners and should have taxing authority. This would get education funding off the backs of county commissioners." Well, folks, that's your update for the week of April 5th, 2010. Be sure to check back every Monday for the next StateSurge Weekly, and don't forget to leave comments on StateSurge.com, or you can always email us at weekly@StateSurge.com to be part of the next show. So get out there and make your voice heard.